Hey everyone, welcome to the first ever edition for Middle Kingdom Wrestling Presents World Wrestling Sit Down. I am the professional Sean Lathrop, and joining me for the first ever guest for this, putting on the pressure on her already, Tyra Russamee. Tyra, how are we doing tonight?
Hi, I'm doing great. Just came out of the ring, but I'm safely indoors, and it's been a pleasure. Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well. You and I were just kind of shooting the crud for a little bit, and right off the bat, it just seems like you've already have that like infectious personality when it comes to being around you, or even just seeing you in a professional wrestling. Has that something you've already seen, like when you're just in the back, that people just loved hanging out with you and just talking with you?
I guess it's just the fact that I would not think too much and just speak my mind. Sometimes it comes out and it gets a little quirky or random and people catch on or don't catch on. So I guess it's just the fact that maybe I smile when I talk. Maybe you can hear it when I smile. Maybe.
Oh,
I have no idea. Like,
oh, yeah, you can always hear a smile. That's the big thing we've learned in broadcasting.
oh, okay. Well, I'm definitely smiling. Definitely smiling from being nervous and just the opportunity, definitely. So, thank you.
It's all right.
Being friendly helps.
But don't be nervous. I mean, this is definitely a fun situation here for World Wrestling Sit Down from Middle Kingdom Wrestling. And, looking at you yourself, you've recently got into, well, I don't know about the word recently, but you got into professional wrestling and joined the first ever Singapore wrestling, as he likes to call himself, the Statement Andrew Tang.
Yes, he is my senior and one of the co-founders of SPW, correct.
And immediately makes me think, since he was the first ever Singapore wrestler, does that make you the first ever female Singapore wrestler, really?
Technically, I am not Singaporean. I just happen to be working in Singapore. I'm actually American and Thai, so I am half. So to answer your question, the first Singaporean girl would be my rival. Her name is Alexis Lee. So Andrew Tang is the first male Singaporean wrestler, and along with him would be Alexis Lee, who is the first female wrestler, in Singapore. I would dare say I would be the large girl of Southeast Asia to be a heel. Because when you put me in a ring with all the other Southeast Asian wrestlers, like Scarlett Lee from NYPW Malaysia, together with like the recent debutant from Got to Move Thailand, yeah, I'm still the big girl. So I would dare say the first heel female wrestler in Southeast Asia.
All right, you say you're a big girl, and a lot of American standards, when we think of big girls, we think of Awesome Kong, Nia Jax, Lufisto in some sense. Are you in that kind of realm of big girl, or just big girl compared to some of your competitors over there?
I would say the second one. I mean, with all my heart, I wish I can be as tall as the first group of ladies that you mentioned. Awesome Kong is definitely one of my favorite heels. If I have a chance, I would love for her to give me a bear hug and squeeze the life out of me if I could. The other relatively big girl in the indies would be Jessica Havoc.
Yes.
She's just vicious, and I won't mind taking a few strikes from her just to say that, I'm under her presence. But to answer your question, comparatively to the other South Asian female wrestlers, I am the big girl. It's something different, so I embrace it while I can, for now.
Yeah, I mean, Asia has definitely been exploding recently with professional wrestling. Of course, it's always been huge with Japan, but more recently with Singapore Pro Wrestling, with Middle Kingdom Wrestling, it's been getting bigger. But one of the things you don't really hear a lot about, especially stateside, is female professional wrestling in Asia. I mean, even the biggest promotion in Asia, New Japan, doesn't really have a females division there.
Not yet.
Not yet. What really is the female aspect for Asian professional wrestling?
It's hard to say because it's relatively new and we just like blossomed over the last, I think, 4 to 5 years. Um, Southeast Asia pro wrestling has been blossoming over the last 4 or 5 years. So, I mean, hard to say that there's that many of us as of now. So, I would say we have maybe roughly less than 10 of us as of now, representing our regions. I mean, you also got to consider that we also have Philippines. They haven't had their female wrestling debutants out yet, from what I understand. China, not yet. There's no female there. Korea, also potential, but so far, no federation there either. And then you got Indonesia, you've got um, Indonesia, Burma, Vietnam, all these other neighboring countries in Southeast Asia who haven't like started up their federation yet. So I would say, although we are blooming, there is more to grow with within the region. Hmm.
Really would you say, in your expertise as such, do you think it could really make the break? Like whether New Japan gets their division or whether Asia as a whole starts becoming the continent of grabbing these female talents?
Ideally, it'll be great if we do work together, but in reality, I mean, all of us strive to stand out or be different so that, you know, people can remember you and would want to support you, right? So, I mean, Japan, yeah, they've been in the industry for many years before I was even born. So for Southeast Asia, we a lot of our collaborations also with Japan as well. So we are borrowing their style or their how should I say, their traditions as well as make our own together with a lot of the foundations from what we learned from the American side and the European side as well. So it's going to be an interesting fusion, I would say, but we will definitely have our own uniqueness. I mean, given that Southeast Asia, there's so many of our cultural differences that it will be a very interesting thing to see in the next, I hope, maybe 5 years, maybe less.
Switching gears away from the women's wrestling as a whole for Asia, but women wrestling, or really wrestling in general for you, what really made you get into the industry? We were talking earlier, and you're entering in at a later age than most people normally do, but
Yeah.
already you're having great success. So tell me, how did you really decide to finally go into professional wrestling?
Um, Actually, I've always been a fan of wrestling since young, and you never think you would ever want to be within that circle or that world. You never think you would. And for me, just so happened that I tried out Zumba, like, you know, try different hobbies as you get older. And because sometimes when you do mundane ones like cooking classes or Zumba and cardio and aerobics or kickboxing, you just get bored, right? So just so happened that a couple of years back, while I'm, you know, working in Singapore, mutual friends who are actors, musicians, artistes, they decided to check out this club. I assumed it was a club initially, and then it turns out to be a tryout for a wrestling federation. And then I'm a supporter of local wrestling, so I was just the usher slash ticket girl, ticket booth, or door bitch, whichever you call them, just people behind the scenes whenever they have their shows. So you end up having like, you know, viewers of like maybe 60 people at first, and then now after maybe 4 or 5, yeah, going to be 5 years this year, you end up having viewers, you know, coming to the show of like 300. So that's like, wow, big step. Believe it or not, the fans are just, you know, if it wasn't for the fans, Singapore Pro Wrestling wouldn't be the way it is. So for myself to join, I would say I joined about 2 years ago, going to be 2 years, 2015. I just decided, you know what, gym is not working out for me. Rock climbing is not helping me. Nightclubs are just really mundane. I mean, what's the point of getting drunk and waking up hungover? It's
True.
just no point. All these other lessons like MMA is just uber expensive in Singapore. It's just crazy that I decided to, instead of being the people in the backstage, went for the tryout. And Andrew Tang, that's when I got to know him a little bit more, said, you know what, why not? Give it a go. So I did, and made my debut around 5th of December 2015. And yeah, that's when I came out the way I did.
Forgive me from laughing earlier. The fact that we went from you tried cooking, Zumba, and then straight into professional wrestling just seemed like such a bit of a jump, to be honest.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. I mean, I'm just listing out what I've done that I just didn't feel that kick or that passion or that moment where you have those free times where you have those moments and you're like thinking, maybe this, maybe that. So maybe with cooking, you're like, maybe I should have added more salt, or maybe replace the salt with something else. You have those moments, and then when you're doing rock climbing, the only thing you had to think about is just reach the top. And then after that, well, what do you do next? Like when you recuperate and all that. I mean, not that I'm saying that it's not good. I'm just saying it's not working for me to feel that drive or that inner glow. Mm-hmm. Then when I joined pro wrestling, with my gimmick, I mean, then those free moments where you kind of go like, maybe with this attire, maybe I should try lace, or maybe with this attire, I should try this makeup. You just have those little thoughts going through your mind, and it just keeps you excited and keep you going. So I mean, not only that, you think about signature moves, you think about, what color would look good on you, or, stuff like that. And then it hit me later that it's not just the outfit, your gimmick, but it just becomes a part of you, right? So, yeah, hence I'm here.
Did you ever think, like growing up, I mean, you said you supported indie wrestling. I assume you were a wrestling fan growing up, correct?
Yeah, I was.
Did you ever think that you would actually be a professional wrestler?
Oh, no. Never. Never.
Well, why not?
I've done competitive sports. I've like basketball, team sports. I've done Taekwondo. I've done Aikido. I've, even tried out for Dragon Boat even. But pro wrestling, I would never think I ever be where I am now. It just happened that, what, I'll give it a go. And then during the very first thing you learn is the bump, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, it just takes the wind out of you, and I'm like, wait, come on, this can't be. Oh gosh. And then you're just trying to get it right over and over and over, and then after that, once you establish that one major bump, then the rest just comes to you, and then there's nothing else but continue. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I mean. And you mentioned the bump, like the initial bump. The worst part than the initial bump is the day after the initial bumping, really.
Oh, yeah, the sores.
Oh, yeah.
I like to think of them as great sores, because, you don't get them from Zumba. Maybe for some people they do get sore, but for me, it didn't work for Zumba. Zumba's like, oh, okay.
It's the most aggressive class of Zumba ever, it seems.
I mean, you can shake it, you can twist, you can, I guess jive or hop as long as you want. I mean, even nightclub dancing, I can go all night. I don't feel that much pain, or unless, you're talking about my high heels and my toes, that's a different story. But with just taking that first bump, you feel every fiber on your lower back, the back of your neck, believe it or not, you actually have abs under the tummy. When you try and get up from bed, you're like, oh, what was that? So that's when you know that it's gonna work. It's totally worth it, and then you just tough it out, kind of thing.
Yeah,
The same with Muay Thai, it helps too, but Muay Thai, you want to die also when you what do you call it? Like when you're doing the upside down crunches, like your feet are hanging or suspended, and then you do the crunches and you have those people like slap your gut. I mean, ouch. I didn't think that was as effective as I hoped for it to be, but hey, different people work differently, right?
absolutely. And you already mentioned how I'm not sure if you took the MMA classes. We mentioned it, but you did say Muay Thai. You mentioned Taekwondo. You seem to be well versed in different forms of martial arts. Do you really apply those to the wrestling ring?
Not yet. Because I wasn't given permission to do any kicks above the knees. Not yet. So I finally got, like recently, I was in Denver during the Christmas holidays and did my own Christmas shopping. So I finally got my own kick pads, and I'm really itching to try a lot of kicks for my future matches. So I'm quite stoked about that. So to answer your question, yeah, I do intend to apply what I learned. Also, it helps that I'm flexible as well. I do have a dancing background. I've done ballet academy for about 12 years. And yeah, it helps being flexible until now. I'm still flexible. Fingers crossed.
Just get back into DDP yoga. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm going to consider that too as I get older. But given my age and the fact that I work full time, I also study my MBA part time and squeezing in as much of wrestling training as possible and do the best I can for every match that I get booked for, whether it's in Singapore or overseas. I try and make the best out of it, make a great show, and just dare enough to do it. Because I mean, not a lot of people would be able to go to like leave their home base and go to another promotion who you've not met face to face yet, or you heard of them. And then when you get there, and then you feel the crowd, you look around the environment, and you're just trying to absorb whatever you can to see what works for you. So that it's not something you learn during basic training. Every crowd, every city, every culture is different. So, like an example in Singapore and Malaysia and Thailand that I did my wrestling matches for, the crowd, you know, you just make that posture and you make yourself intimidating. That's enough. But when I did a match in December in America, like that's not enough. You had to get at their face to prove your dominance at the crowd, or you get at their face. So that's something different that I just learned while I'm wrestling. You don't learn these during basic training. So taking on matches overseas is a wonderful experience, that's for sure, as a wrestler. Hmm.
And looking at it, not many people who started in Singapore or started Middle Kingdom or started in Malaysia have really come to other parts. As much as I'd love to see talents like Selfie King or Andrew Tang, it seems they really stick around in their home base. Is that
For now.
yeah?
For now, yes.
With yourself, the fact that you're already American and Thai, you already have that connection to America. Is that how you really reached some of the North American promotions?
I suppose. I mean, I was trying to figure out how half the people that I speak with, like so many of us have mutual friends
Yeah.
that, someone's like person A, person C, person J would talk and then refer you or recommend you, and then maybe a topic will come up and then you get tagged or shout out to that sort of thing. And then I guess is nowadays, um, thanks to social media and the internet, I would dare say that networking has been more efficient, I would say. There's no need for the phone calling and all that, like how they do back in the day, or sending your footages over raw. Now they just look up YouTube, or you send some snippets of your highlighted fast spots, and then that's enough for them to make a decision. So, yeah, I guess it helps.
Yeah.
Language makes a difference too. So English is my first language. Unfortunately, I'm not fluent with all the other languages. So that's my biggest regret, is not being fluent in other languages. So that could be on my to-do list of things to do besides wrestling, learn other languages.
I mean, you didn't really hit the nail on the head, though, that, like, I saw that you're connected with Jimmy Conway, who's over in Philadelphia, and then myself, I'm interviewing you for Singapore Pro Wrestling, Middle Kingdom Wrestling, and I'm connected with Andrew Tang, Ho Ho Loon, and Adrian Gomez. The world has become so connected with professional wrestling. And at the same time, it's kind of exposed a lot of the secrets of professional wrestling. Kayfabe, unless you're broken Matt, is almost dead at this point. Do you
Yeah,
think?
it's hard. It's hard because fans or marks are not as naive or gullible as before. They're getting smarter. Even when we're doing our match, you could see them at the corner of your eye going like, "Oh, that's how they hit. That's how they strike." You see, he jumps, or you see they're whispering at each other. So fans are getting smarter. So it makes our job as wrestlers or entertainers or creative people to basically try and take a step or two ahead of them, or just surprise them. That's all you can do. You can't really control the circumstances, right? So the best you can do is make the most out of it.
Or,
It's not
um,
like back then. Yeah.
but I mean, I mean, even you as a professional, myself as a professional wrestling commentator, as strange of a phrase that is, I mean, we still have those moments where we mark out using that word and really just enjoy professional wrestling. So looking at you, seeing how you kind of grew up loving wrestling, never expected a pro wrestler. Who did you really love growing up as a fan?
Oh, for female wrestlers, you
I
mean?
mean, could be
Or in
male
general?
wrestlers. I mean, everyone says Shawn Michaels on every show I've been on.
Oh, okay. For myself, okay, it depends on the category. So I would say my first would be Rey Mysterio, like Royal Rumble, and the fact that for his size, his talent, he's just phenomenal, I would say, while growing up. Next one would be Randy Orton, like the bad boy, definitely. Growing up, him and Batista both, and The Rock. Growing up, I get all ecstatic in front of the TV just watching them do their parts. Mick Foley, when he did the hardcore match, and that one where his face was he received the pedigree and his face was full of tack, that made your heart sink. At the same time, you respect the business, you respect wrestling as an art, because people are willing to do that to protect it, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of female, I would dare say Gail Kim, uh, together with China, together with Jazz. I would say, yeah, quite a list of them, but all of them, to me, they really make wrestling truly beautiful. And it's a beautiful art, no matter what people say. So, like recently, when I started wrestling and I ended up having like so-called fans, I don't know if they're really fans, they started talking to me, and they're meshing up MMA and wrestling, and they go like, wrestling's fake. Wrestling is not, it's not going to be effective if you do this submission of whatever from MMA. I can't remember the name. And the best response I tell them is that MMA is a different world. In its own right, it is a very lethal sport. No, no knocking on that one for sure. But if you're knocking down on wrestling, it's an art.
Hmm.
You don't get people who are athletic, who can also, convince the mass of like thousands of viewers of what they represent, what they believe, what their intention is. It's not easy, right? So both are different universes altogether, in my view. So I try not to waste my time with such people who just blabber on and on and on, saying
Yeah.
one is better than the other.
And
Frankly, both are great in their own right. That's the best I would say.
you mentioned Mick Foley getting the tax in the face, and
Mm.
women have been known a little bit for going to that hardcore style. We mentioned Lufisto earlier. Of course, Rosemary is another one
Oh
out there.
man,
Uh,
yeah.
so you're already saying, oh man, I'm thinking you've already attempted or like to try those kind of burning tables or tacks in the face type thing?
Actually, when I was in recent match in America at Denver for um, Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling under Matt Yadin, for the five-way match, the girls want to do hardcore, and I basically, got slightly edgy because I've never done it before. I've always been taught wrestling, so I'd rather stick with what I know. Not that I'm knocking at hardcore wrestling because it's your unique art in itself.
Yeah.
It's just certain people like it more than others. That's all. And for me, I took okay beatings, and I got out of the match, I think within 5 minutes out of the 12 minutes. I would dare say the cringe factor would be the Legos,
Oh,
being poured out of the bag, and one of the girls get picked up and body slammed right on top of those Legos. You would think stepping on Legos with your toes would hurt. So imagine your back.
no.
Ooh.
I'm
Oh.
good.
I mean, ouch.
Now, is this the same promotion that had Dalton Bragg working in a tournament there?
Um, no, the promotion I believe Dalton Bragg did would be for Primo's Pro Wrestling.
Okay,
That one is under Joey Terrifying.
that's it.
They
All right.
are from the hardcore wrestling industry, that sector.
So,
So,
I knew they were
um,
both because you mentioned they want to do like the hardcore style, so I was assuming it was going to be like Dalton's when he was in that bloodbath state, essentially.
the Bloodbath one is more of a death match.
Yeah.
I would say it's more of a death match. Hardcore, not so bloody.
No.
Not too bloody. That's the best I could say. Like I said, it's not something I would want to venture into just yet. I won't mind trying it out. Maybe give myself another, I don't know, 3 years, 5 years, if I'm still functioning by then.
Right.
At most, I won't mind taking a power bomb through a table. At most. I don't know if I could I don't know if I would let my body take a body slam and like land myself onto a bunch of Legos. Oh,
No.
I don't know.
Hey, I'm with you.
Just the thought of stubbing your toe on Legos is already like ouchy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll take a table over Legos any day of the week for sure.
Right? As much as everyone said, no, Legos are harmless. I'm like, you ever stub onto any of them when you can't see? It hurts.
Well, Tyra, thank you so much for being part of the program. If anyone wants to find out more about you, reach out to you, what's the best way to really follow Tyra?
Well, I do have an Instagram, so they can basically type up my name. It has a full stop in the middle. Or they can look me up on Twitter as well as my Facebook. So it's just my name, Tyra Russamee, and then they should be able to find me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being part of the program, Tyra Russamee. You guys were listening to Middle Kingdom Wrestling Presents World Wrestling Sit Down. I am the professional Sean Lathrop, and the man who sleeps on the floor can't possibly fall out of bed.